Greetings, programs. This is Wretch. Welcome back to Citizen Sleeper 2 Starward Vector. And I'm really glad you guys enjoyed the first episode of the series. It's like meeting up with an old friend you haven't seen for a few years. I think we're going to have a lot of fun with this, and in the last episode, our sleeper, along with Serafin, were able to basically hijack our ship known as the Rig, and we found ourselves another station, but we cannot stay here long because Lane will be catching up to us. So we need to kind of figure out what we're going to do, and using our engineering experience, probably the best place would be to trade scrap. So let's go ahead and take our 100% positive. I love that. Rules of the exchange, +7 cryo. You just progressed a clock. Clocks track your progress toward both positive and negative events and can be filled by performing actions. Alright, cool. And... alright, nothing else is... oh, something new is opened. The trade hall. Buy fuel. Fuel deposits like this can be found at most stations, selling the lifeblood of the belt's transport and trade. Fill fuel. If you have enough cryo, they can fill your fuel capacity in a single order. Buy supplies and fill supplies. Neat. Glad that we have that available to us. We still have some dice though, so let's do this again. And that finishes the rules of the exchange. +7 cryo. New location discovered. The Hexport Canteen, common trade hall canteen. Here you can eat in exchange for cryo. Eating gives you energy and stops you starving. Different foods give you different amounts of energy. I would very much like to fill up the boat, but eating here also would probably be an advantage. Anything else here? No? Cool. So, we can chat to crews, but we're not exactly of the engagement sort. We still need to make Hexport connections. One thing I do need to see, though, are we pretty much done with the trade hall? Oh no, that site, that actually completely disappeared. Cool. 50% positive, 50% neutral to explore the docks. It's better than nothing, right? Ooh! New location discovered and got 3 out of that. The Benz, a chaotic dockside bar. What a great name. Play Star and Stoker. S&S is a spacer gambling game made with custom magnetic dice. Chits are stashed in symbol-marked cans, and winning is ruthlessly luck-based. Buy a Benz Fry, a plastic bag of flash-fried, salt-flecked tubers. The Benz Fry brings spacers back to the scattered tables of the bar cycle after cycle. So that's a repeatable action. I'm not exactly sure what that does. Is that going to restore our stamina, maybe? And we have got some absolute garbage in terms of the rest of the dice. We do have our special ability, though, I think. +1 stress, +2 to lowest dice, -1 stress on focused die, positive outcome. So how do we actually activate that? I'm still trying to use mouse and keyboard here, so... Okay, that just goes for the rig. We got a map here, too, which is interesting. Look at all these places we can potentially go. So it has gone, like, full RPG, which is pretty incredible. What does LS do when you push it? Nothing. Okay. Well, that's fair. So... let's do... 50% negative, 50% neutral, compared to 50% neutral, 50% negative, so it's the same thing, really. But I think risky kind of beats the danger, right? Engage skill missing. Yes, indeed. But do we have that ability to pump up our dice? Or is that something we have to do later? Let me check. One sec. So I don't think we have the ability to push yet. So, you know what? I think because it's grayed out to us, I still have all the controller stuff over it, which is weird. Let's go ahead and back out of this, and let's head back to the rig, because we also have the bunks and the galley. Rest and recover. Sometimes it's necessary to rest, or at least try to, in the compact bunks of the rig. This will help you reduce stress when not on a contract. That actually might be the best option. And then make a meal. Supplies are typically saved for contracts, but when food isn't readily available, you've got to use what you got to survive. And we have 2 supplies there. So let's go ahead and use this and see what it does. 50% negative. Oh, big bucks, no whammies. Recovery failed. Rest doesn't come. Anxiety eats away at the time, and nothing seems to dispel it. Well, let's try again. There we go. It's hard to ignore the pressure, but after a while, something like relaxation is felt. You've used all your dice this cycle. You need to end the cycle at your ship to re-roll them. We also have, like, the task chance per cycle. Oh, we get scavenge some supplies. I guess this is for Serafin. I don't know how much money we necessarily need. What we definitely need is fuel, so I'll go ahead and see if Serafin can grab us some fuel and end the cycle. We're in trouble, sleeper. Serafin leads into the bunks as you're getting up. Without further explanation, he disappears down the corridor towards the rear of the ship. You drift out into the passage, pulling on your clothes, and glide down the length of the rig, the cool air making you shiver. Serafin is a silhouette silently leading the way. He stops at the far end, diverting through a side door, shooting you a glance as he does. You find Serafin inside, holding one of a tangle of arm-thick tubes that are waving in the zero-G engine room. You know what these are? Fuel pipes? Serafin shrugs. Close enough. These are the engine's free feed lines. He waves one in the air. And before you ask, no, they aren't supposed to be waggling loose. What happened? These must have broken loose when we pushed the ship hard on our way out of Darkside. He looks at the mess. We're lucky the reserve tank is empty, otherwise... He shakes his head. It would have been bad. But... He pushes the pipe to the side. No feed from the reserve tank means that only the rig's range is limited to the local region only. He thumps the large, lumpen housing of the engine. This thing can't take us anywhere far. But we need to leave. No doubt. Serafin grimaces. We're going to need to fix this. Otherwise, no one's leaving. Serafin whacks the engine housing again, harder this time. Just not been our run of luck. He turns and starts gathering the tangled feed lines, his frustration evident in the violence of his movements. We'll need a new set of these, that's for sure. He starts forcing them into a crate. So, how about you try and track them down? I'll take a look at things here and see if I can figure out another fix for the reserve tank. He glances up from his work. From what I heard on Hexport, Factory Row is the place to find ship fitters. Maybe you can do some recon while I sort this place out? It's on the other side of the station. Okay, I'll take a look. Serafin keeps working. Wait. Serafin pauses, seemingly unsure. There's something else. He drops the feed lines and they float, waving in the air like tubular seaweed. I've heard word that Lane's on the hunt. He frowns. A message went out everywhere in the local radius of Darkside. He's looking for us. And we can't leave. Exactly. Which is why we need those feed lines. I'm gonna try and work something out. Maybe I can improvise a solution, I don't know. He looks down. I'm no ship fitter. But while I do, you go hunting. See what you can turn up, okay? He smiles a weak smile. Get going. You leave the engine room, the clanking sound of Serafin's cleanup efforts echoing through the ship. Fuel feed lines. That's the next step. You take a deep breath and head out. New drive available. You have discovered a drive. Drives help you track and choose your objectives in Citizen Sleeper 2. The arrow button in the top left opens the drive menu where you can choose which drive to track. Once a drive is tracked, a yellow marker will be placed above any location that relates to that drive. Drives come in two major types, major and minor. On completion, a major drive rewards 2 upgrade points and a minor rewards 1. Keep an eye on the drive menu as you progress to see what new opportunities and objectives are available, and track those you want to pursue. Cool. Well, that's one for Lane. Rig engine. The engine's fuel capacity is extremely limited, but new feed lines would allow you to hook up a reserve tank to increase it. Got to increase our little hot rod's range. New location is discovered. Factory Row. Search the row. The factory owners of the row speak mostly in terms of supply and demand, but going door to door might help you find the ship fitter you need. And then, something we don't have, Factory Row is filled with workers hauling materials through its zero-G corridors. Helping might win you some fans among the factories. So, do we not have... Yeah, the Endure skill is missing. So that's that's a 3. This would be a 50% positive, 50%. That's our best bet. Well, first things first, let's go ahead. We got the Hexport canteen. Eat at the canteen for 13. What about over here? Cry it, repeatable action. Let's try the Ben's fry. There we go. I think that was a good little investment. But then we also probably need to work toward filling the fuel and supplies. That can come later, though. We've got stuff to do. Let's go ahead and chat to the crews. 25% positive, 50%... Oh, wait. I keep on putting the wrong thing there. Let's go. There we go. You have a good sense of this humming way station. Time to use that knowledge to your advantage. As you're gliding across the docking concourse, you hear a scuffle. The noise of raised voices cuts through the conversation drifting out of the dockside shops. Glancing down an alley, you see a huddle of figures shouting back and forth. You spot one man in the middle of the group, surrounded, pushing the others back as they grab at the bag slung over his shoulder. You don't like the way this looks, but then again, Serafin told you to keep your head down. Ooh. Fools rush in. I want to do it. Neutral outcome? You look around for something that could break up the fight, and see the thick cooling pipes running down the alley wall. You quickly try to understand the system, and choose a valve to start spinning. As you do, the system begins to vent in sequence down the alley. violent jets randomly bursting into the air. There's a scramble in the alley, and you spot the figure who was being attacked drop down to the alley floor. Then your vision instantly fills with pale liquid as a jet of coolant jumps out nearby, missing you, but sending you spinning in 0G. After a few moments, you manage to steady yourself. As you do, you see a clear alley, the assailants having fled, with one figure gliding towards you. I suppose you think that was clever. The man gives you a severe look. You'd like to break up fights you didn't start? Belt's gonna eat you up. He shifts the large bags on his shoulder, weightless but unwieldy in 0G. I was helping. Well, he shakes his head. Thanks, I guess. He kicks off and drifts past you. You watch the man go, and then after a moment, he stops and turns back. He rubs his forehead, looking down as he does. What's your deal, anyway? Maybe you're new here, but Hexport is no place for do-gooders. You needed help. The man smiles. I don't think so. He shakes his head. Bunch of cowards. Idiots, too. Getting beat up over some scrap. Look, let's not hang around, alright? The man pats his chest. I'm Femi. He unshoulders one of the bags and pushes it towards you. Make yourself useful. Let's head. You get the strap of the bag over your shoulder and follow him through the docks, gliding past the concourse toward the connecting bridges. He cuts down a side passage, looking back to check you're following. Then he stops at a docking bridge connecting to a dull green ship with yellow markings. You look out the viewing window at its odd catamaran-like shape, seemingly built from two separate hulls welded together. Symbol crash, he says, and you assume that's the ship's name. Femi, you bringing in strays? A young woman, brightly dressed and stretching as she glides, drifts into the passage. She glances at you. No offense. Naya. Shemi shakes her head, or his head. This one. He squeezes your shoulder. Helped me fend off some Hexport scum while you were busy sunning yourself. Naya raises an eyebrow. I'm sure you could handle them, big brother. Her glib response hides the flash of concern that passes across her face. You can't tell if Femi noticed. Naya turns to you. Thanks. She smiles sweetly. And I am sorry for my brother. She shoots him a glance. Just in general. Naya, Femi murmurs. Enough now. He reaches over and takes the bag you were carrying. Naya rolls her eyes at you, but stays silent. Factory Row wouldn't take these. Femi hefts the bags. I'm gonna load them back up. Maybe we'll find a use for them. He turns back to you. Thanks for the assist, Sleeper. He nods firmly. Not what I expected. He slaps the button for the bridge door and kicks off along the docking bridge on his way to the symbol crash. Naya looks at you with raised eyebrows. I hope my brother was joking, or did you really help him? I tried. Thank you. She looks back at the ship. My brother needs more help than he admits. What do you mean? She tenses. I don't know if... She smiles a tight smile. I shouldn't have said anything. She pauses, thinking. I want to ask you something. She takes a deep breath and gives you a direct look. What is she building to? Are you looking for crew? She looks away. I'm sorry to be direct, but you seem like... Well, if you're on Hexport, maybe you're with the crew? She stops herself. I mean, maybe your crew needs crew. Maybe you're looking? Why do you ask? Naya looks back at the ship, then at you. Look, I'll be honest. Being on a crew with my brother is nice, but he is suffocating me. She frowns at her own bluntness. I'm not a kid anymore, you know? But he still seems to sees me like one. She shrugs. I want to show him I can handle myself. I need experience. I need to run some contracts. She gives you a determined look. What do you say? I'll think about it. I'm a good salvager, all right? You can use me. She smiles. I can spot things, find gaps, ways in. She folds her arms across her chest. I know what I'm doing. Femi taught me well. She glances back at the ship. Just consider it, all right? Let me prove myself. Suddenly, a shout comes from the ship, echoing down the passage. Femi. He makes both of you nervous. Naya looks in his direction. I should go. She pushes off toward the docking bridge. I'll be waiting. Naya gives you one last glance as she departs, then disappears into the docking bridge, leaving you alone in the passage. New local crew available, huh? Freight loading. The warehouse at the Hexport docks supply the industrial operations of the station, meaning they need constant loading and restocking. So, I guess we get money for that. Cool. Alright, let's continue here at Factory Row. We made a new friend. Was there anything else there? No, just potential new crew, maybe before we leave. And just escape Hexport is our primary guiding star. So let's search the row. Trusted supplier. You joust a little around scrap contracts, and the factory owners respond well to the haggling, eager to meet your challenges. Again. You spend as much time listening as you do talking, and seem to make some headway into negotiating a contract. Uno más. You have a little trust with the factories. Now the trick is to not waste it. Factory row howls as you glide through its cramped passages. Whatever its many bays and rooms once were, they now serve as containers for industry of every kind. Whirring manufactories precisely engineer components with rapidly shifting arms, while scrappers hammer incessantly at bent ship plates. Everywhere you look, there's energy and activity, and for good reason. Hexport itself is built on the derelict fragments of a solar reflector, and even the small amount of energy generated by its remaining mirrors is enough to power a city of machines. It is familiar to you, of course, in a strange, far-off way, because of Darkside. That place and your memories of it are a muddy haze, but it's hard to forget the glint of its hexagonal reflectors, 10 or 20 times more in number than Hexport's, and that wild, flickering city growing on their back like a tumor. In comparison, Hexport feels provincial, but deep in Factory Row, you can almost be back in Darkside. And then you see them, tubes just like those Serafin had waved in your face. The feed lines. You push over to the display window of the unit, marked Karsten's Supply in block capitals cut from hull plate. There amongst an angled shelf of oversized ship components sit the feed lines, like some large biomechanical tangle of snakes. You slip inside, where the sound of Factory Row is a little screened, and spot a large figure working on a bench. Hunched over, concentrating. It seems he doesn't notice you enter. Wait patiently? You let him work, watching as, despite his heavy build, he delicately aligns the components, their layers slotting like puzzle pieces. After a few moments of observing the process, he turns his head a little towards you. Can I help you? His accent is heavy, but unknown to you. Those feed lines. How much? There's a sharp clink as Karsten places his tools and the component against a magnetic plate on the wall. He turns with surprising grace and begins cleaning his hands on a cloth. Those sharp eyes scan you, but Karsten's thick-set features do not betray the results of his assessment. Custom built those, for a client that never collected. He looks at his hands while he speaks, checking for stray oil stains. You have one of those old MEVs then. He sounds out the letters in a way you don't recognize as he speaks. You try to recall anything you know about your ship, but the memories elude you. Perhaps Serafin should have come along. I think so. Karsten squints a little. Right. Look. Karsten drifts over to where you're standing, an imposing height evident. For a fellow enthusiast like you, he continues in distinctive monotone, let's say a few hundred cryo on clean shits. He shoots a glance at the feed lines. 400, let's say, to be precise. 400? 400, Karsten says back, repeating your question without the emphasis. It's expensive, I know, and it's a shame, but it's just what they're worth. He screws up his mouth a little, into something that might be a smile. However, I'm more of a bartering type myself anyway. Barter sounds good. Karsten nods sagely. There's a little favor I need a crew for, and well, you look like you might be a good fit. He tucks the cloth away in a pocket and clasps his hands. I know of an old Solheim wreck out there. Very old. Pre-collapse. It's tucked away in a dead zone, so no one has ever really caught it. He shrugs. Not only that, but Solheim derelicts have a habit of triggering nasty security protocols when approached by an unfamiliar ship, so it's been left well alone. But a salvager like you, with an old Solheim rig, I bet it wouldn't even flinch if it saw you coming. He smiles. I have a special interest, a need for that old tech. All those Solheim ships had a data core, and while I don't care about the accounting reports or material ledgers or whatever they kept on the damn thing, I do care about the hardware. So, if I was to find you back here with that data core in your cargo hold, clean cut and complete, well then, I could see my way to doing a straight barter for those feedlands. Karsten pauses, sniffs at the air again. You'll just need the coordinates. Simple as that? Simple as that, he repeats in his monotone way. So, you interested? He glances back at his workbench. Because I'm a busy man. I'll do it. Alright then. He holds out a heavy hand for you to shake, and as you automatically reach out, he grabs your forearm instead. Karsten pulls you closer, squeezing your arm. Let's keep this one between us, alright? He half smiles, his face huge and close. It's our deal. Before you can respond, he thumbs a little drive into your palm. Those coordinates. And then he lets go of your arm, and with that, with what you swear is a wink. You take a moment to gather yourself, and by the time you do, a whirring fills the air, Karsten having returned to his workbench. You turn and glide out of Karsten's supply with a growing mix of anxiety and excitement in the pit of your stomach, and the cacophony of Factory Row in your ears. Contract. Serafin might even be impressed. You look at the drive in your palm and smile. This could be a route out. You think of leaving this place behind, in possession of an improved ship, too. Suddenly, a small but firm hand falls on your back, an equally small voice coming with it. Hey, wait up! You turn in the passage to see a young woman, her hair waving from the rapid glide she clearly just came out of to catch you. She steadies herself using your shoulder. Sorry. She smiles a quick and flat smile. Wanted to catch you. I'm Junie. Her dark eyes flick around nervously. You notice the portable terminal she carries, something data scrappers call a deck, and her backpack full of components and trailing wires. Do I know you? She pauses, confused by the question. No? She pauses again. Karsten, she starts, still catching her breath. He sent me to grab you. She smiles that flat smile again. Wants me to come with you on that job. Her eyes shoot down to the drive in the palm of your hand, and she smiles again. Why didn't he tell me? She glances back toward Karsten's. I guess he forgot? He does that sometimes. She looks sheepishly at you. He just grabbed me after you two were done talking, so... Karsten always sending me on things like this. I guess he wants me to help you out. Keep an eye on things. She pauses. I can be pretty helpful. So, she looks around the passage. Should I meet you at your ship, and you can tell me when you're ready to go? I'm not sure. She looks nervous. Sure, I mean, you aren't sure when you're leaving? I'm not sure you're coming. She pauses, thinking. I mean, Karsten said I need to go. She glances back in the shop's direction. And he does get pretty mad when people don't do what he asks. She shrugs. Let's see. Okay. She glances around. Karsten doesn't like waiting, but it's up to you. Junie pushes off and waves. Look forward to working with you. She calls back as an afterthought. What about the ship? Oh, I'll find it. She calls back and then disappears down the hall, or down the passage. You watch her go, glad of the contract, but nervous too. Will Karsten keep up his side of the bargain if you deliver? Whew. Okay, guys. Looks like we're gonna let Serafin know what's going on here, and I think this is gonna be great. I mean, we got 2 potential crew. Junie definitely is gonna try and swerve us, I think, but we'll figure out what happens in the next episode. Hope y'all have enjoyed it. If you liked the episode, please leave a like down below. Subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, that'd be a big help. I will see you next time. Later days, everyone.